परमे सत्यमयि परमे सत्यमयि परमे सत्यं ज्ञानं सत्यं ज्ञानं ज्योतिररविन्द सत्यं ज्ञानं सत्यं ज्ञानं ज्योतिररविन्द सत्यं ज्ञानं सत्यं ज्ञानं ज्योतिररविन्द ज्योतिररविन्द ज्योतिररविन्द. If you need a backrest. Okay, so we start with this little poem by Richard Lovelace. It goes, "Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Minds innocent and quiet, take that for a hermitage. If I have freedom in my love, and in my soul I am free, angels alone that soar above enjoy such liberty." So nobody better who lived this poem than Sri Aurobindo, right? For him, he was actually in a jail and he made it into a hermitage. He says, the only wrath of the British government was that I found God. We know the whole story of him behind that. So the point is, we may not be in prisons, but we are constantly prisoners of our past, right? Our past is constantly a prison for us. For example, if 10 years, maybe when I was 5 years old, I lost my mother. It's a drastic thing, but it was 5 years ago when I was 5 years old. Now, if I'm 55 and somebody says the word mother and my eyes tear, I'm still imprisoned by it. No, I'm still a prisoner of my past. That's a big example. Something small. You might have been in a blue Maruti when you had a terrible argument with a friend. And whenever you see a blue Maruti, somehow you start feeling low. So your past is always a prison for you. And that's a prison which we have created and we have to uncreate. So that's what today will be really about. So this is again a beautiful passage from Michael Singer's Experiment with Surrender, the Surrender Experiment. So Michael Singer says, "Thus far, my entire path to inner freedom was focused around my meditations. That was where I went to become filled with a deep sense of peace and serenity. And it was working to a degree. I could sit for hours with a beautiful flow of energy lifting me upwards. But I couldn't break through to where I longed to go. Furthermore, the personal mind always returned once I got up and became active. I needed help. And it came one day in a flash of realization. It dawned on me that perhaps I'd been going about this in the wrong way. Instead of trying to free myself by constantly quietening the mind, perhaps I should be asking why the mind is so active. That's a question for all of us. Why is my mind so active? What is the motivation behind all the mental chatter? If that motivation were to be removed, the struggle would be over. This realization opened the door for an entirely new and exciting dimension to my practices. As I explored inwardly, the first thing I noticed was that most of the mental activities revolved around my likes and dislikes. If my mind had a preference towards or against something, it actively talked about it. I could see that it was these mental preferences that were creating much of the ongoing dialogue about how to control everything in my life. In a bold attempt to free myself from all that, I decided to just stop listening to all the chatter about my personal experiences, personal preferences, and instead start the willful practice of accepting what the flow of life was presenting me. Perhaps this change in focus would quiet things down. So what Michael Singer is saying, Bijal, is very important. What he's saying is, we are so drawn into thinking because we are so attached to our likes and our dislikes. So any thought which we like, we want to think more of it. Any thought which we dislike, we want to push it away. So this constant preference in a way motivates us to think. If you see, the motivation behind all thinking is to draw the pleasant closer to you and to push the unpleasant away from you. Now suppose you give up this control, this need to control life so that only the pleasant comes to you and the unpleasant moves away from you. Then automatically your mind will be quieter. But the question is, we can't do that because we are so convinced that to draw the pleasant to me is a good thing and to push the unpleasant away from me is a bad thing. We are so convinced that pain is bad for us. So we act neurotic. We'll do anything to get away from pain. When we are in pain, we'll divert our mind, online shopping, eating, doing this, doing that. But we don't have a training to just be with the pain. We don't have a training that tells us that it's okay to experience the pain and to let the pain flow through you. Because Sri Aurobindo says it so beautifully, pain is the hand of nature sculpting men to greatness. But we read this and we are touched by it, but honestly, if we ask ourselves, we don't believe it. If we believed it, why would we get so neurotic whenever pain comes? Why would we try so hard to get rid of it at any cost? So, whenever there's an unpleasant thought process, it's beautiful to just breathe out and soften behind. It's what we were doing in our morning yoga class. It's beautiful to do it with the body. So, you'll notice that every time a thought comes which is strongly full of attachment or strongly full of aversion, there'll be a tightening in your system. It's very subtle, but it's there. Any strong attachment or aversion will create a tightening in your system. That tightening creates a samskar, an energy imprint on your consciousness which creates other future outcomes. But if that moment, if that strong aversion or attraction comes and you just breathe out and relax behind it, you release that tightening. In a way, you're releasing the samskara. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Are you all getting what I'm saying when I say that in response to any strong attachment or aversion, there's a tightening in our being, a clinging to it. Both are clinging, either clinging to wanting to push away the pain or clinging to attract what we are. So if we learn to just relax, breathe, let it go. And those of us who have an asana practice, it's beautiful to do it in an asana, because when you stretch, you will experience pain. And often if you notice your mind, if you, like today we held for a very long time, if you're holding asanas for a very long time, you're waiting, when will I release, when will I release? But instead of doing that, if you change your relationship with pain in an asana, it changes in life also. And after a while, you can be quite comfortable endlessly holding the pose, because you've actually changed a blueprint in your nervous system. So you do it at the level of the mind, you do it at the level of the body, but the whole key to this is to be okay with experiencing the pain, not wishing it away, and to exhale and relax behind it. And you'll notice that most of your pain is just the past coming up. If you were a third person to yourself, you'd say, what is this rubbish? What am I feeling so bad about? If you see it objectively, to feel upset when a blue Maruti passes because 10 years, it's nonsense. But in that moment, you become unconscious, you can't see it. Or if I've had a parent who's been a certain way, and I meet a friend who says something innocuous which has nothing to do with how my parent was, but I'm imposing my parent on that friend and I'm picking fault on that friend. So, but all these things you won't see if you tighten, because all your life energies have gone into tightening and resisting. But if you just relax and breathe out, that energy is freed up to really observe what is happening. And then you see truths which set you free of the past. When things go against the current of my desire, I resist not the seeming evil, but remain perfectly blissful, peaceful and calm, and accept with good cheer what appears to go against the current of my desire. It is thus, when I resist not the seeming evil, that the seeming evil turns into good, and this is without exception. Swami Ram Tirth, till here. Okay, so we all know this, but very few of us live it, and we have to live it thought to thought, moment to moment, and for that we have to be really alert and conscious. So I started with this new practice with something very simple, the weather. Could it be really so hard to just let it rain when it rains and be sunny when it's sunny without complaining about it? Apparently the mind can't do it. Why did it have to rain today? It always rains when I don't want it to. It had all week to rain. It's just not fair. I simply replaced all that meaningless noise with, look how beautiful it's raining. I found these practices of acceptance very powerful, and they definitely serve to quiet the mind. So I decided to push the envelope and broaden the range of events I would learn to accept. I clearly remember deciding that from now on, if life was unfolding in a certain way, and the only reason I was resisting it was because of a personal preference, I would let go of my preference and let life be in charge. Clearly, these were uncharted waters for me. Where would I end up? If my preferences were not leading me, what would happen to me? These questions did not scare me, they fascinated me. I didn't want to be in charge of my life. I wanted to be free to soar far beyond myself. I began to see this as a great experiment. What would happen to me if I just inwardly surrendered my resistance and let the flow of life be in charge. The rules of the experiment were very simple. If life brought events in front of me, I would treat them as if they came to take me beyond myself. If my personal self complained, I would use each opportunity to simply let go and surrender to what life was presenting me. This was the birth of what I came to call the surrender experiment, and I was totally prepared to see where it was taking me. If I had a choice between using this real life situation to get my way or to free myself from being bound to my way, I would choose freedom every time. Very important sentence. If I had a choice between this real life situation to get my way or free myself from being bound to my way, I would choose freedom every time. That means I have a thought which has come up that I will be happy if this person who was so nasty to me apologized. I want my way. I have a choice between feeding that my way or my happiness and freedom. If I keep thinking I want this and I'll be happy only if this happens, I can't be happy. But if I make a decision that whether the person apologizes or not, I'm going to release this tightness in my being that the person has to apologize. And I'm just going to soften. I'm going to relax behind that thought and let it go. Either I can hold on to that thought and be unhappy, or I can just exhale, soften my being. And I'm not saying exhale out the thought, because that's a practice to breathe out a thought, because that's wishing it away, not that. You're perfectly fine with the thought being there, but you're relaxing behind the thought. You're accepting it so fully that there's no resistance, and you're relaxing behind the thought, and that lets it go. And the thought that I want my peace and freedom more than this person's apology. It's a choice between wanting my way or wanting my peace and freedom. So I choose that. How could I possibly explain the great freedom that comes from realizing to the depth of your being that life knows what it's doing? Only direct experience can take you there. At some point, there is no more struggle. Just the deep peace that comes from surrendering to a perfection that is beyond your comprehension. Eventually, even the mind stops resisting, and the heart loses the tendency to close. The joy, excitement, and freedom are simply too beautiful to give up. Once you're ready to let go of yourself, life becomes your friend, your teacher, your secret lover. When life's way becomes your way, all the noise stops and there is great peace. So what he's saying is that I want things my way, and sometimes it's a contradiction to the way life is going. But if I have this central faith that there's a wisdom to the unfolding of life, that what life is bringing me is infinitely superior than what I want for myself, then I can just relax and let go, and whatever's coming, smilingly accept. So we'll do this song we did this morning in our yoga class. It's on the next page. It's called a song. It's beautiful. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me, of life that will lead me, of light that will guide me. So just relax, shut your eyes, Observe the flow of thoughts in your head and see if a strong thought of preference, like or dislike, is creating a tightness in your being, a clinging to the thought form. Suppose you give up resistance to the thought. You step outside the thought and just witness it with a smile, completely accepting that it has arisen. You'll notice a very beautiful thing. When you stop trying to control the flow of thoughts, thoughts cannot control you any longer. When you keep trying to control, that's when thoughts become your prison. But if you say an open-hearted yes, every thought is part of this flow of life, which is really a flow of love, and I just relax behind every thought. I smile, I relax my belly, relax my shoulders, and just let the thought flow through me instead of getting stuck in me as a samskar, which will create future karmic consequences. Then that's my way to freedom. So, this song, most of us know it because we were there in the morning, or many of us were. Rest of you, let it fall on your ears. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me, of life that will lead me, of light that will guide me. So all of us together. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me, of life that will lead me, of light that will guide me. And just repeat these words in your heart. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me, of life that will lead me, of light that will guide me. And slowly open your eyes. So we come back to the previous page, Mother's words. In failure as well as in success, the Divine's grace is always there. You feel you have grace only when you succeed, but how do we wrap our minds around the thought that the Divine's grace is also in failure? How do we do that? See, if we believe everything is a flow of love, even the failure is part of this flow of love, right? If we really believe that everything is God, and if we are really honest with ourselves, we don't believe it. We believe it at a very mental level. But if we really believed everything is God, that even that person's rude behavior, every failure, everything is a flow of God, and it's designed to make you grow. Even the pain is part of this flow of love. It's maybe tough love, so tough that our senses can't recognize that it's love. But it's still love. It's God loving us in every way. So, the closer you come to the divine, the more you live under a shower of overwhelming evidence of His immeasurable grace. So what we talked about, softening behind the thought, you need a lot of faith to do it, because your mind is convinced that what your thought is saying is correct. But can I make a leap of faith to know that what Mother's saying through the life that's flowing is correct, not what my mind's saying about it. Mother's speaking to me through the life she's bringing to me, right? So are those words of the Mother as things that are happening in my life correct, or is my mind correct? So it takes a great leap of faith to let go of what your mind is saying, and to really, I keep saying this story. There was a boy in Pondicherry who grew up with the mother, and he married and his wife died in childbirth. So he was left young boy with a little baby and no wife. And people talk, in their ignorance. So they started telling him, don't you feel let down by the mother? You were so into her and she made this happen to you. And he said, no, the divine can do no wrong. He had that kind of consciousness and wisdom, even the face of a calamity like that, to say the divine can do no wrong. But for us, little things go wrong and we may not articulate it, but we feel life is wrong, God is wrong, my mind is right. So, Bijal, So, are you writing, Bijal? Okay. Our faith in the omnipotence of grace is never equal to what the grace itself is. An absolute faith and trust in the grace is, in the last analysis, the supreme wisdom. This is beautiful. We talk about wisdom as knowing about Prakriti and Purusha and Brahman, but see how Mother hits the target. An absolute faith and trust in grace is, in the last analysis, the supreme wisdom. I mean, how beautifully that's said. Like Sri Aurobindo says it differently, that in the final analysis, the only thing you need to know, the only wisdom you need to know is you have a soul within and grace above. And these two are manipulating everything in your life so that you're only being taken to a good place. So this is really a gem. It's a sutra of yoga, that the absolute faith and trust in grace in the last analysis is the supreme wisdom. Through this apparent chaos, a new and better order is being formed. But to see it, one must have faith in the divine grace. Cheer up. In the present growing conflict, what should be our attitude? Faith and total confidence in the divine's grace. It is when all seems lost that all can be saved. When you have lost confidence in your personal power, then you should have faith in the divine grace. In the final analysis, everything really depends on the divine grace, and we should look at the future with confidence and serenity, progressing at the same time as quickly as we can. All depends on what you want. If you want yoga, take all that happens as the expression of the divine grace leading you towards your goal, and try to understand the lesson that circumstances give. People believe that grace means taking everything smooth for your life. It is not true. The grace works for the realization of your aspiration, and everything is arranged to gain the most prompt and quickest realization. For those who have given themselves to the divine, each difficulty that confronts them is the assurance of a new progress, and thus must be taken as a gift from the grace. When difficulties besiege you, know that grace is with you.
Actually, when difficulties besiege you, she is now with you.
Yes, absolutely. So now we come back to Michael Singer from the Untethered Soul. How do you learn to stay open is up to you. The ultimate trick is to not close. If you don't close, you will have learned to stay open. Do not let anything happen that happens in life be important enough that you're willing to close your heart over it. When your heart starts to close, just say, no, I'm not going to close. I'm going to relax. I'm going to let this situation take place and be there with it. Do you all understand what it means for your heart to close? Something happens, somebody says something, a thought comes, and you actually feel your heart closing. And that actually blocks off the energy flow. The end of the day, you're so tired, though you've done nothing much. But if you keep your heart open, no matter what anyone says, Mansi, you can come here, there's a backrest. Come. Okay. So, if you learn to keep your heart open, no matter what somebody says, what happens, you'll see you'll have so much energy during the day. It's amazing how resisting things and thoughts is blocking your energy. But if you just learn to soften behind the thought, soften behind the trigger, it's amazing how much more energy you'll have at the end of the day. So, honor and respect the situation and deal with it. By all means, deal with it. Do the best you can, but deal with it with openness. Deal with it with excitement and enthusiasm. It's a challenge. So even a negative mind state, you can get excited that it's a challenge. How do I navigate through it so that I'm free of it? So take everything that life gives you as a challenge. We love to challenge our bodies, our physical limits, but the real challenge is to navigate our consciousness so that we break free of the prisons that we've created. So deal with it with excitement and enthusiasm, no matter what it is. Just let it be the sport of the day. In time, you will find that you forget how to close. No matter what anyone does, no matter what situation takes place, you won't even feel the tendency to close. You will just embrace life with all your heart and soul. Once you've attained this very high state, your energy level will be phenomenal. You will have all the energy you need at all times. Just relax and open, and tremendous energy will rush up inside of you. You are only limited by your ability to stay open. If you really want to stay open, pay attention when you feel love and enthusiasm. And then ask yourself, why can't you feel this all the time? Why does it have to go away? The answer is obvious. It only goes away if you choose to close. By closing, you're actually making the choice not to feel openness and love. You throw love away all the time. You feel love until someone says something you don't like, and then you give up the love. You feel enthused about your job until someone criticizes you, and then you want to quit. It's your choice. You can either close because you don't like what happened, or you can keep feeling love and enthusiasm by not closing. As long as you're defining what you like and what you don't like, you will open and close. You are actually defining your limit. Very important sentence. As long as you are defining what you like and what you don't like, you will open and close. I didn't like this thing the person said, I'm closing. I like this person said, but if I get attached to it, I'm still closing. You walk away from yourself with attachment and aversion both. Both make you close, because if you like what a person said, you'll keep thinking about it, you'll keep wanting to meet the person, so the person says it again, you get the same ego kick. That again closes your energy. Both make you close. As long as you are defining what you like and what you don't like, you will open and close. You're actually defining your limits. You're allowing your mind to create triggers that open and close you. Let go of that. Dare to be different. Enjoy all of life. The more you stay open, the more the energy flow can build. At some point, so much energy comes into you that it starts flowing out of you. You feel it as waves pouring off you. You can actually feel it flowing off your hands, out of your heart and through your other energy centers. All these energy centers open and a tremendous amount of energy starts flowing out of you. What is more, your energy affects other people. People can pick up on your energy and you're feeding them with this flow. If you're willing to be open even more, it never stops. You become a source of light for all those around you. You know, we all very often say, almost like it's a virtue, I'm a very sensitive person. I feel very bad but actually you should say I'm a very unconscious person, because this emotional sensitivity is actually unconsciousness. The more unconscious you are, the more all this pricks you. But if you just, the person said it, but it's my choice how I receive it inside me. If I just, and how you receive it inside you, you are not receiving it at all. It's your past receiving it. If you have a certain experience in the past, that experience gets projected onto the moment and you start tightening, you start reliving the past, and that's your prison. But if that moment you become conscious and you stop firstly making a virtue of this sensitivity, you know, it's I hear so many people boasting about it, and I say, what are you boasting about? The more sensitive you are, the more spiritually unconscious you are. So first thing is, stop thinking that it's a virtue to be sensitive. It's unconscious. And then whenever it comes up, first thing is, ask yourself, is it more important to get my way, or is it more important to have my freedom and peace? And if my freedom and peace is more important to me, then instead of feeding that negative thought, I can just step back and relax and breathe out behind the thought and just let it pass through me. If I don't let it pass through me, if I get stuck on it, if I build narratives around it, if I keep thinking it again and again, it will create a samskar in me, an energy pattern which will attract future karma. Similar things will keep happening to me because I haven't released that samskar. But in the moment the reaction comes, simple things like faith, a person speaks to me badly, doesn't give me a response I want, I make it personal. He hates me, he's rejecting me, whatever. But if I just say, no, there's no person here, finally everyone's executing mother's will. It's mother's will that he didn't reply to me or didn't message me back or whatever, it's okay. And I just learned to not build stories about it, because every story I build about it, it'll be inaccurate, it can't be really true. So if I let go of the stories and just relax and let the thought just flow through, then in the very moment of the arising, I'm dissolving the samskar. So there's an example here. There was this one car, a light blue Ford Mustang, that looked like your girlfriend's car. But it passed by. You noticed two people hugging in the front seat. At least it looked like they were hugging, and it sure looked like your girlfriend's car. But it was a car just like other cars, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. Just like all the other cars to you. Next time, so you come to the second paragraph on the next page. It's 5 years later and you're no longer with your old girlfriend. You've married someone else and you're much more mature. One day you're driving along with your family, having a wonderful time. The trees are going by, the cars are going by, and then a light blue Mustang drives by with two people hugging in the first seat. Immediately something changes in your heart. Your heart closes. Your heart actually skips a beat. Then it starts beating faster. You're getting moody, irritated and agitated. You aren't having such a nice day anymore. All of those inner changes occur because your heart got disturbed when you saw one particular car. It's truly amazing to step back and look at this process. 5 years ago, for just a few moments, an event took place. You never discussed it with anybody, and now 5 years later, a light blue Mustang drives by and it changes the energy flow through your heart and mind. As unbelievable as it seems true, it's true. Can you identify these patterns in yourself? All of you have examples for this? And it's not only true about the light blue Mustang, it's true about everything that didn't make it through you because you got stuck on it. No wonder we are so overwhelmed. No wonder the heart keeps opening and closing. The energy that's stored there is real, and it interacts with the flow of current thoughts and events. The dynamics of this interaction cause the vibrations that are stored as samskaras to get activated sometime later. Do you understand? This is what happened with the light blue Mustang. So every time you react, you're generating a samskar. And then you say life is bad, but you're creating the house you're living in, right? Your samskar is the energy in you, and that's the house you're living in. It will attract what it is. Understand, however, that it didn't even have to be the identical car to activate the stored energy. It could have been a black Mustang or any car with people hugging. Anything in the neighborhood has the potential to stimulate a samskar. The point is that past impressions do get stimulated, even old ones, and they affect your life. Sensory inputs from day's events dig through all the stuff you have stored through the years, and they restore the exact past patterns associated with the incoming events. When a samskar is stimulated, it opens like a flower and begins to release the stored energy. Now this could be a flower of pain. So it's releasing the pain. But don't resist it. Be fully present to the pain. Let the pain pass through you. Suddenly flashes of what you experienced when the original event took place rush into your consciousness. So when you bring consciousness to it, little by little, the truth that sets you free starts showing itself to you. The thoughts, the feelings, sometimes even the smells and other sensory inputs. If old energies come back up because you were unable to process them, let go of them now. It's so easy. You don't have to be a prisoner of your past. When the past comes up, watch it, relax behind it, don't feed it with more negativity. When the past comes up, you will get pulled into, what will the first thing you'll get pulled into? What will be the dialogue in the reaction? And blame, right? You'll always blame someone or something for your unhappiness. Now you can do that and the rest of your life will go by. But if you want to progress spiritually, take responsibility for your happiness. Don't blame anyone, because the moment you blame, you're generating a negative samskar and you will attract more people to blame in the future. So first, stop blaming. Become present to the energy of it arising. If you're conscious, you'll feel it in some part of your body. Maybe there'll be a churning in your belly, tightness in your throat. Any strong emotion will always have a physical counterpart. And just relax and feel out that sensation, Bijal. Feel out that sensation, feel out that thought. Just let it pass through you. It won't be pleasant, but it's okay. Why are we so neurotic about always feeling pleasant things? Change your relationship with pain. Be okay it is there. Be fully present to it and let it flow out through you rather than resisting it.
Sometimes you blame yourself also.
That's also not right.
Like you may not blame the other person.
No, but that blaming anyone is futile.
That also causes
So
people.
a lot of our pain is shame or guilt, no? Though that's a mind state that comes up very often. Oh God, how could I have said that? How could I have felt that? But that is also unconsciousness. So that also, just become present to it. Don't feed it. You're not a good person if you flog yourself. Not at all. It's very counterproductive. Just relax behind it. Feel out the emotion and let it go. Yes, yes. These are beautiful books, huh? The Surrender Experiment and the Untethered Soul. You all must pick them up. Okay. So, when the light blue Mustang drives by and you feel fear or jealousy, just smile. Be happy that this samskar that has been stored down there for all this time has the opportunity to make it through you. Just open, relax your heart, forgive, laugh, or do anything you want. Don't push it back, down. Of course, it hurts when it comes up. It was stored with pain. It's going to release with pain. He said a beautiful thing. It was stored with pain. It will release with pain. You have to decide if you want to continue to walk around with stored pain, blocking your heart and limiting your life. The alternative is to be willing to let it go when it gets stimulated. It only hurts for a minute and then it's over. It's true. If you've done this, it's beautiful how it worked. For a minute, it's very unpleasant. You feel you need to distract yourself by going into physical exercise, going on the phone, eating, doing something. But if you don't do that, if you just sit still, become present to this samskar releasing its pain, and tell yourself it's okay to feel pain, I'm fine with it. If it's going to lead to freedom, I'm fine with it. And you just let it flow out. After a minute or two, it's gone and that samskar has dissolved. Any questions? Yeah? Never mind. At least you can arrest more consequences in the future. What has happened. But if you're feeling bad about the consequences that have happened, at least bring consciousness to that feeling bad. Any moment of feeling bad, just become aware, step back into the witness poise. Even if you can't step back, when you're very in a lot of pain, maybe you can't completely step back into the witness poise. But at least remind yourself, this pain isn't bad. It's come because I have created it with my past reactions. And I can release it with my present moment response to it. That's the amount of freedom I have. So just step back, breathe out, relax, and you'll see see where in your body it's located and let it go.
Sometimes there are certain things which by which we close, and it has nothing to do with what has happened in the past. So can we say it's a past life?
It could be a past life also, or it's a past which you've forgotten. You don't have many memories in our past which are painful. We block it out. It goes into our subconscious mind and comes out as a samskar. So it doesn't matter what its source is. The important thing is its resolution. So you have a choice. Do you want to try to change the world so it doesn't disturb your samskars? That's how we live. We try to change the world so it doesn't trigger us. Lost battle. The world will keep triggering us. Samskars, or are you willing to go through this process of purification? Don't make decisions based on stimulated blockages. Learn to be centered enough to just watch this stuff come up. Once you sit deeply enough inside to stop fighting the stored energy patterns, they'll come up constantly and pass right through you. They'll come up during the day, and they'll even come up in your dreams. Your heart will become accustomed to the process of releasing and cleansing. Just let it happen. Get it over with. Don't process them one by one. That's too slow. Stay centered behind them and let go. Just like the physical body purges bacteria and other foreign material, the natural flow of your energy will purge, cleanse the stored patterns from your heart. Your reward is a permanently open heart. There is no more valve. The valves of the heart open and close. You live in love, and it feeds you and strengthens you. Once you've made the commitment to free yourself of the sacred person inside, of the scared person inside, you will notice that there is a clear decision point at which your growth takes place. Spiritual growth is about the point at which you start to feel your energy change. For instance, somebody says something and you start to feel the energy get a little strange inside. Somebody said something in a joke maybe, but you start to feel the energy inside get strange. You will actually start to feel a tightening. You become conscious enough to identify that tightening. That is your cue that it's time to grow. The moment you feel this discomfort or tightening, it's your cue. It's time to grow. It's not time to defend yourself. You tighten in defense, no? The person said something. Should I retaliate back? Or was I wrong? Or was the person wrong? You're looking for something to blame for your unease. But there's nobody to blame. It's just a flow of life. It's not time to defend yourself, because you don't want the part of you that would be defending. If you don't want it, let it go. You will eventually get conscious enough so that the moment you see the energy start getting strange, you stop. You stop getting involved in the energy. If it normally causes you to start talking, you stop talking. This is a very important thing he's saying. He's saying that as you grow, you will notice that whenever a trigger comes and you start feeling an uneasy feeling inside you, instead of letting that uneasy feeling pull you into unconsciousness. Unconsciousness is a negative state. You can never be conscious and be in a negative state. To fall into a negative state, you've lost an anchor in your consciousness. What I mean by consciousness is the witness in you. You've become so involved with the negativity that you've lost all awareness of the witness in you. So the moment it starts, it's your thought that, wow, this is my chance to grow. Am I going to tango with that useless battle with life, which I've been tangoing for decades and not won, and it's just made me this messy human being I am today? Or am I going to grow? Am I going to let go of it? My battle is not with the person, my battle is inside me. The enemy is never outside, the enemy is my unconsciousness. So I start fighting a different battle. I'm not battling the person anymore. I am remembering to soften and let go and breathe out and let it pass through instead of creating a samskar in me. You stop mid-sentence because you know where it will go if you continue. So this reminds me, years ago I had a student who I taught yoga to in the 10th standard, and on open day her father came and told me, I want to start yoga classes. So I said, why? So he said, I had a very strange experience. My daughter and I, we keep fighting because she wants to party and I want her to stop partying. And we were shouting at each other, and suddenly she tells me, wait dad, and she just lies down in Shavasana. She takes 2 minutes to do whatever, and then gets up and talks to me very calmly. And I was so shocked that all my anger went away. But it was so beautiful that this child remembered to do that right in the middle of the fight, to stop and to get her bearings back. So, you will get conscious enough so that the moment you see the energy start getting strange, you stop. You stop getting involved in the energy. If it normally causes you to start talking, you stop talking. You just stop mid-sentence because you know where it will go if you continue. The moment you see the energy getting imbalanced inside, the moment you see the heart starting to tense and get defensive, you just stop. What exactly does it mean to stop? It's something you do inside, not just with words. You stop feeding that agitation. You stop identifying with that agitation. You stop tightening with that agitation. You just relax and breathe and let it go. It's called letting go. When you let go, you're falling behind the energy that is trying to pull you into it. So now these words from Savitri. A conscious soul lives in a conscious world. As through a mist, a sovereign peak is seen. The greatness of the eternal spirit appeared, exiled in a fragmented universe amid half semblances of diviner things. These now could serve no more his regal turn. The immortal's pride refused the doom to live a miser of the scanty bargain made between our littleness and bounded hopes. This is a beautiful line. The more you come close to what you are, the immortal's pride in you refuses to sanction negative states in you. It's like Rumi said it so beautifully. I am a high-flying eagle. Awareness is a high-flying eagle. Thought is a low-flying insect, a gnat. And he says, how shall an eagle be overpowered by a gnat? So whenever thought comes, it's the immortal's pride in us which says that no, I'm too big for this. I'm not going to fall into this. That's what he's saying. The immortal's pride refused the doom to live a miser of the scanty bargain made between our littleness and bounded hopes and the compassionate infinitudes. His height repelled the lowness of earth's state. You repel a negativity not by fighting it, but by transcending it. That's how you truly repel it. His height repelled the lowness of earth's state. A wideness discontented with its frame resiled from poor ascent to nature's terms. The harsh contract spurned and the diminished lease. Only beginnings are accomplished here. Our basis matter seems alone incomplete, an absolute machine without a soul. We come back to Michael Singer. We normally attempt to solve our inner disturbances by protecting ourselves, right? How do we try to protect ourselves from our inner disturbances? How? By staying distracted, by tightening, by denial, or not going to places that trigger us. You irritate me, I'm going to avoid being around you. This place brings back negative memories, I'm not going to go to that place. But what I resist will persist because life loves me, because life wants me to be free in the real sense of the word, and I cannot be free till these samskaras are released. So even if I run away from them, life will keep sending me those triggers because it's cheering me from the background. Come, come, now win, now win. And if I don't win, never mind, it will never give up on me. It will infinitely send me opportunities to grow. But I don't see them as opportunities to grow. I call them problems and difficulties. So, we normally attempt to solve our inner disturbances by protecting ourselves. Real transformation begins when you embrace your problems as agents for growth. So that uneasy feeling comes, I almost feel an excitement. Wow, now I have a chance to be free of it forever. And that freedom is more important to me than the battle my mind is fighting. Yeah? So, in order to understand how this process works, let's examine the following situation. This is very beautiful. Pay attention to it. Imagine that you have a thorn in your arm that directly touches a nerve. When the thorn is touched, it's very painful because it hurts so much. The thorn is a serious problem. It's difficult to sleep because you roll over on it. It's hard to get close to people because they might touch it. It makes your daily life very difficult. You can't even go for a walk in the woods because you might brush the thorn against the branches. This thorn is a constant source of disturbance, and to solve the problem, you have only two choices. The first choice is to look at your situation and decide that since it's so disturbing when things touch the thorn, you need to make sure nothing touches it. So you'll keep avoiding triggers towards that thorn. The second choice is to decide that since it's so disturbing when things touch the thorn, you need to take it out. Believe it or not, the effects of the choice will make you determine the course of your life. This is one of the core level structural decisions that lay the foundation of your future. Let's begin with the first choice and explore how it affects your life. If you decide to have to keep things from touching the thorn, then that becomes the work of a lifetime. You want to go for a walk in the woods, you will have to thin out the branches to make sure you don't brush against them. And that's how you become a control freak, no? You want to control everything so that life doesn't touch that raw nerve, that thorn inside you. In order to apply the analogy of the thorn to your whole life, we will use loneliness as an example. It's something we all feel, no? Let's say you have a very deep sense of inner loneliness. It's so deep that you have trouble sleeping at night, and during the day it makes you very sensitive. You're susceptible to feeling sharp pangs in your heart that cause quite a disturbance. You have trouble staying focused on your job, so loneliness is the thorn here. And you have trouble with everyday interactions. What's more, when you're very lonely, it's often painfully difficult to get close to people. See, it's such a paradox. You're lonely, you're longing human company, but that very loneliness will stop you from getting close to people. You see, loneliness is just like the thorn. It causes pain and disturbances in all aspects of your life. But in the case of the human heart, we have more than one thorn. We have sensitivities about loneliness, about rejection, about our physical appearance, about our mental process. We have many kinds of sensitivities. We are walking around with a lot of thorns touching right against the most sensitive part of our heart. At any moment, something can touch them and cause pain inside. You have the same two choices with these inner thorns as you did with the thorn in your arm. Surely it was obvious that you would have been much better off taking out that thorn. There's no reason to spend your life protecting the thorn from getting touched when you can just remove it. Once the thorn is removed, you're truly free. The same is true with your inner thorns. They can be removed. If you choose to keep them without being disturbed by them, you must modify your life to avoid situations that would stir them up. If you're lonely, you must avoid going to places where couples tend to be. Avoid seeing films where you see couples close. All that triggers your loneliness, so you'll try to avoid it. If you're afraid of rejection, you must avoid getting too close to people. If you do this, however, it is for the same reason that you thinned out the woods. Remember, to go for a walk, you had to chop the woods, lose the beauty of the walk. You are attempting to adjust your life to make allowance for your thorns. In the earlier example, the thorns were outside, now they are inside. When you're lonely, you find yourself pondering what to do about your loneliness. What is it that you can say or do in order not to feel so lonely? Notice that you are not asking how to get rid of the problem. You are asking how to protect yourself from feeling it. You do this either by avoiding the situation or by using people, places and things as protective shields. So your protective shield can be to work out a lot, or online shopping, or whatever, but you don't want to face your loneliness. You'd rather protect yourself, that thorn, from hitting against people than removing it. You're going to end up just like the person with the thorn. The loneliness will run your entire life. You'll marry the person who makes you feel less lonely, and you'll think that's natural and normal. But it's exactly the same as the person who's avoiding the pain of the thorn instead of taking it out. You have not removed the root of loneliness. You have only attempted to protect yourself from feeling it. Should someone die or leave you, the loneliness would again disturb you. The problem will be back the moment the external situation fails to protect you from what's inside. So you're lonely, you feel if you spend time with friends, your partner, whoever, that's the solution. But that's not the solution, because you won't find company all the time. The solution is to get to the root of the loneliness and remove it from there. And how would you get to the root of the loneliness?
To find the divine within.
Find the divine within, yes. Of course.
Even what he has written,
Yes.
when we look at the integral yoga part of it,
Yes.
we see peace and the need for the peace to fill up all the beings of your heart.
True. So yoga has two parts. Heartfulness is to look at the nature of the light you are. But mindfulness is to look at the nature of the shadow that you are also. Because however much you keep opening to light, if you don't work with the shadow will keep coming up. You have to work with both. So today we are working with mindfulness. Both are required. You're right. but sometimes you're in the grips of such a negative mind state that you can't connect with your heart. That can also happen. Then it's nice to look at the nature of the shadow to dissolve it. So if you're feeling very, very lonely, it's nice to sit with that loneliness and really be present to it. See which part of your body is feeling it. Just relax behind the loneliness. Again, integral yoga comes in to remind you that this loneliness is also a flow of the mother. If everything is a flow of the mother, this mind state too, if she has brought me to it, she'll take me through it. But she'll take me through it after it has served its purpose. So I stay with it anchored in the faith that is in my light, and even if it's painful, I really watch it and I let it pass through me so that the samskara is dissolved. Because every time, we all know that sometimes we can really feel the peace and light and everything, and sometimes no matter how hard we try, we don't have access to it. So integral means where nothing is left out, where you're feeding the light in you and you're also nourishing the part of you which wants to be free of the shadow.
But till you reach this ideal way of dealing with whatever you're going through, be it the other things to deal with it are okay, right? Like distractions or meeting or online
It's
shopping.
okay, but Dolly, if you're here and you're hearing this,
Just generally, I'm
no,
asking,
don't
not
ask
just
generally. For you, first try it. If you're not successful, it's fine. It's not that all of us will be successful all the time. But Sri Aurobindo and Savitri writes that the very fact that you tried gives you a brownie point. It weakens the samskara. So try it. Give it a shot. If you don't succeed, theek hai, distract yourself. But every time try.
So we need to be open even to our closeness.
Exactly. You have to bring awareness to the closeness. Then it will open.
Yeah.
Normally
Even if
when
we
we
get
are
close-
closed, we don't know we are closed. We are so unconscious.
So even if we get close, we need to bring awareness that okay, I got close.
To be okay with it, to not judge it. The key is to be okay with whatever you're feeling. It's not wrong. If you call it wrong, you can't be present to it.
So to acknowledge it, accept it, and then work on it.
Work on it by just relaxing behind it instead of tightening and wishing it away. Do not doubt your ability to remove the root cause of the disturbance inside of you. It really can go away. You can look deep within yourself to the core of your being and decide that you don't want the weakest part of you running your life. When you're living with your thorns and you're being controlled by them, the weakest part of you is running your life. That line from Savitri, the immortal's pride refuse the lowness of this state. I will work from my highest part. When I distract myself, I'm letting the lowest part of me control me. You can look, you want to be free of this. You want to talk to people because you find them interesting, not because you're lonely. Normally we talk to people because we are lonely, but he's saying change so that you talk to people so that they are interesting. If you talk to them because you're lonely, you'll be very bad company, because through the whole conversation, you'll be looking for a positive upstroke to your ego. My ego is hurting. Say something to make me feel special. I'm saying this. Are you impressed enough by it? Have I made a good impression on you? So you're not enjoying the conversation and the person's getting bored of you, frankly, because everyone can sense this. But if you're really looking at the person, I find you interesting. I want to talk to you to get to know you, not just to boast to you about how good I am and secretly wish that you flatter me and make me feel good. So when you speak to people without being lonely, You talk to people because you find them interesting, not because you're lonely. You want to have relationships with people because you genuinely like them, not because you need them to like you. That's the key difference. You want to love people because you truly love, not because you need to avoid your inner problems. How do you free yourself? In the deepest sense, you free yourself by finding yourself. You are not the pain you feel. You are not the part that periodically stresses out. None of these disturbances have anything to do with you. You are the one who notices these things. Because your consciousness is separate and aware of these things, you can free yourself. To free yourself of your inner thorns, you simply stop playing with them. The more you touch them, the more you irritate them, because you're always doing something to avoid feeling them. They are not giving you the chance to naturally work themselves out. If you want, you can simply permit the disturbances to come up and you can let them go. Since your inner thorns are simply blocked energies from the past, they can be released. The problem is you either completely avoid situations that would cause them to release, or you push them back in the name of protecting yourself. Suppose you're sitting at home watching TV. You're enjoying the program until the two main characters fall in love. Suddenly you feel loneliness, but there's no one around to give you attention. Interestingly, you were fine just a few minutes ago. This example shows you that the thorn is always in your heart. It's just not activated until something touches it. You feel the reaction as a hollowness or a dropping sensation in your heart. It feels very uncomfortable. Substitute it with whatever your thorn is. A sense of weakness comes over you and you begin thinking about other times when you were left alone and of people who have hurt you. Stored energy from the past releases from your heart and generates thought. The samskar is coming up. Now instead of enjoying TV, you're sitting alone caught in the wave of thoughts and emotions. What you can do to solve this, besides eating something, calling somebody or doing something else that might quieten it down, what you can do is notice that you noticed. Very important, notice that you noticed. You can notice that your consciousness was watching TV and now it's watching your inner melodrama. The one who sees this is the subject. What you're looking at is an object. A feeling of emptiness is an object. It is something you feel, but who feels it? Your way out is to just notice who's noticing. It's really that simple. It's much less complex than protective apparatus with all its ball bearings, wheels and hydraulics. All you have to do is notice who it is that feels lonely. The one who's noticing is already free. If you want to be free of these energies, you must allow them to pass through you instead of hiding them inside you. Once you learn that it's okay to feel your inner disturbances, that they can no longer disturb your seat of consciousness, you will be free. You will be sustained by the inner energy flow that comes from behind you. When you've tasted the ecstasy of the inner flow, you can walk in this world and the world will never touch you. That's how you become a free being, you transcend. So what is he saying? You notice the energy coming up and you don't start strategizing how to get rid of it. You ask yourself, who is noticing that this unease has come up? And you remind yourself that the one who is noticing, the witness in you, is always untouched by them. That what seems to be targeted is a dream identity. It's not the real you. So you remind yourself of that, and you try and step behind the disturbance and just relax and let it flow through you. And you can't really do this in a difficult moment very successfully unless you've cultivated the consciousness to be a witness as much as you can through the day. Keep trying to witness. There are those exquisite lines in Savitri, a burning witness in the sanctuary, regards through, what are the lines? Regards through time. No, a timeless light is in his hidden eyes. He sees things which no words can speak. So the witness inside you already knows that whatever life is bringing your way, it's in the field of Bhadram. It's in the field of all good. Therefore, in the Gita, the witness is called Shraddha Mayoham Purusha. The very fabric of the witness is faith. It has so much faith that it doesn't tighten. Whatever happens, it knows it's the flow of love. So a timeless light is in his hidden eyes. He sees things no words can speak and knows the goal of the unconscious world and the heart of the mystery of the journeying years. The witness knows. So it doesn't react. It can let anything happen, but it's anchored in the knowing that I'm good. It can just watch. So now this last passage from Savitri, it's exceptionally beautiful. Okay, it's actually a passage which you can meditate to. In the unfolding process of the self, self with a capital S, sometimes the inexpressible mystery elects a human vessel of descent. So the self is one everywhere, and as it's unfolding in the universe, it elects today this instrument to receive its descent, tomorrow that. A breath comes down from the supernal air. So this peace we feel overhead is the breath coming down from the supernal air. A presence is born where we are an unconscious automaton. When this breath comes down, a presence is born. A guiding light awakes. A stillness falls upon the instruments, fixed, motionless, like a marble monument. The body is fixed and motionless, like a marble monument, stone calm. The body is a pedestal. A pedestal is like a platform on which maybe a sage will sit and give a pravachan. So what he's saying is the body is that platform. The real person is not the body. The body is a pedestal supporting a figure of eternal peace. Can you just imagine how beautiful this is? Your body is a platform on which the real presence that you are is sitting. And that presence is a figure of eternal peace. Or a revealing force sweeps blazing in out of some vast superior continent. Knowledge breaks through, trailing its radiant seas, and nature trembles with the power, the flame. A greater personality sometimes possesses us. This greater personality is that presence which is sitting on the pedestal of the body. A greater personality sometimes possesses us, which yet we know is ours, or we adore the master of our soul. So let's just be quiet. I'll read this whole passage without explanation. In the unfolding process of the self, sometimes the inexpressible mystery elects a human vessel of descent. A breath comes down from a supernal air. A presence is born. A guiding light awakes. A stillness falls upon the instruments, fixed, motionless, like a marble monument, stone calm. The body is a pedestal supporting a figure of eternal peace. Or a revealing force sweeps blazing in out of some vast superior continent. Knowledge breaks through, trailing its radiant seas, and nature trembles with the power, the flame. A greater personality sometimes possesses us, which yet we know is ours, or we adore the master of our souls. So what is the practice that we'll take from this class into our life? Can anyone sum it up for me? How will we bring this class into our life?
Trying to be the person who, when something negative comes up, notices it instead of reacting immediately.
Right? So you don't try to be the person, because you can't try. If you're not the person, you're not. But you're right. The moment a negativity comes up, instead of tangoing with it, first step is to remind yourself, do I want to tango with this negativity and prove that I'm right, he's wrong, whatever, or do I want my freedom? If I want my freedom, I start fighting another battle. My battle is not with the person or the trigger. My battle is to be free of this negativity. So how do I remain free of this negativity? By first recognizing the sense of unease when it first arises, and reminding myself this unease is not caused by the outside. The outside has only triggered a samskar from my past. If it's a painful samskar, it's going to arise with pain. So I become present to the pain and I relax behind the pain. I don't fight it. I'm okay to feel the pain. I let the pain pass through me. It might be painful for a minute or so, but you'll see the pain. See, in the beginning it might take 10 minutes, 15 minutes for the pain to pass through. Maybe it won't even fully pass through, but it will weaken. But each time you practice, it will be a quicker and quicker process. So every time unease comes, it's your inner alarm to become conscious. That's when pain can become the hand of nature sculpting you to greatness. The pain has come to set you free. Take the chance to become free. Yeah? Yes?
What if we pass the pain at that moment, like we realize about it, and after a while, maybe after a few days, again,
Yeah, it will
comes
keep
the
coming.
Same thing, same
It will come up again and again because you worked so hard to create that samskar of pain. So every time it comes up and you deal with it consciously, it will become weaker. It will come up less frequently and less intensity till eventually it will stop coming. It won't disappear overnight. It's a process. Yeah? Let's end with 3 ohms.